Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's going on, y'all? This is Roderick Paulin, the Rev from New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the Rev Speaks video series, and want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. It's early in the morning on Sunday, and I'm coming to you this way because I'm actually going to be talking about some things that a lot of people have been contacting me about issues and different topics that they don't find or they haven't been finding a lot of information on, or maybe they don't feel comfortable talking about it with other people. So I decided to come to y'all in this way to give some words of encouragement, some advice, or what have you, something positive that can positively impact the lives of people. My relatives, your relatives, our community, our city, this whole pandemic thing that we're going through right now. But before I get into that, let me get back to the mothers. Again, this is Mother's Day, and I want to send a shout out to all the mothers, wives, girlfriends. We want to just say that we really appreciate y'all, everything that y'all do. There's so much more that can be said about who you are as people, what you put up with, what you tolerate for your children, for for your sons, your daughters, and whatnot. So we want to just make sure that this is your day. So fellas, make sure that they don't want for anything at all. Please make sure that y'all get them taken care of, pamper them, don't have them to do anything. But however, I think most men would agree that if y'all feel so inclined to make that pineapple upside down cake, I mean, I'm quite sure, or the barbecue chicken, or okra, or cabbage, red beans, whatever. I'm sure that most men would agree with me in saying that we sure would appreciate that if y'all was to fix that today. However, we know that this is y'all day, so we don't want y'all working too much at all today. We want y'all, this is y'all day. So, like I said, I'm gonna be talking about a few things today. I think that really are having an impact on people, and people need to hear something positive. They need to hear some level of hope, among everything that we're dealing with, especially with the COVID-19 thing that's going on right now. Uh, One of the things that is really prevalent right now is that everyone would probably agree that we have a lot of time on our hands right now with the quarantine thing. We're having more time than some of us have ever had, probably in a very long time. And in some respects, it's needed because some of us need rest. Some of us have been working too much and maybe not spending a lot of time with your family, or your children, or even just for yourself, because you do need that. We're not machines, we're human beings, so we do need that downtime so we can go ahead and recharge our batteries. Maybe reading, even if it's just meditating, sitting down at the house, being quiet, or something like that. And one of the topics I want to start with is on that is time. We all have this. We have that same amount of 24 hours in a day. What are we doing with it? Again, we in this quarantine atmosphere that we're engaged in right now, we know that we're all have been binge watching Netflix on or some other TV program, or something. And again, that's okay. But we need to consider the fact, if we want to be better in our lives, what are we doing with our time? If you average it out in a year, that's 8,024 24 hours in a year. That's like 600 something hours a month. I mean, just to break it down, and that's okay for you to enjoy the fruits of your labor and to just kick back and relax. But really think about the things that you would like to do and what's stopping you. What is that project that you've been meaning to really start? Maybe you don't have the money, maybe you don't have the support, or or maybe you just don't know what to do. And from the numerous emails and messages that I've been getting over the last months, is two topics that play into our time, and that's fear and procrastination. There's a level of certainty right now with the pandemic, COVID-19 virus that has literally taken over our country. it has changed the dynamic. It's had a huge economic impact on teachers, definitely musicians, other workers, in every facet. I mean, people are being furloughed, they're being laid off, they're having hours reduced on some jobs because they're trying to keep the environment as safe and as uh, uh, sterile, so to speak, as they can, as the government in its attempt to try to find a vaccine for this virus, so we can get back to some sort of normalcy. And again, even with all of those things that's going on right now, it's very easy for people to get into a state of obsessive negative behavior because you hear, if you're focusing on all of those things that you hear in the media from other people, some things are unfounded, some things are just simply not true, and some people are starting vicious rumors about COVID virus and everything else, about the conspiracy theories. I don't have any um, I don't have a voice on that because I've realized that there's nothing that I can do. I can only watch and take the advice of the medical experts, try to keep myself and my family as safe as possible, and do what I can. And again, that's not to ignore what's happening out what's happening out in the world. No, if anything, that I try to make myself very aware of that. However, to make sure that I'm in a good space mentally, it's to my advantage for me to do things and to take advantage of the time that we have right now and focus on something that's positive. And being positive is not like, oh, just be positive and everything will work out. No, I'm not saying that, because what I am saying is that being positive is a better alternative than you being thinking about other things that may not be productive for you. Now, are you going to do it all the time? Absolutely not. We're human beings. Our attention spans are very short. Sometimes we up, sometimes we down. So I mean, that's just life. But at least with some words of encouragement, you can have, when you do have those down times, at least you can be more aware of where you are, and that way you don't have to do engage in some behavior that may not be advantageous for you. And that's where that's where I'll get more further into the subject of fear. Many people right now are afraid for multiple reasons. It could be, like I said, it could be a financial uh, uh, a situation, obviously with COVID-19, and that's valid. Um, a few other reasons is that a lot of people are unjustly comparing themselves to other people. Social media we're inundated with, look at me, look at what I can do, and I can do this and buy that, and we're better over here, we're better over there. And it's totally unavoidable right now. We can't get away from that, and we're being pulled and pushed and prodded in all kinds of directions to sometimes take advantage of things that sometimes we don't need to. Sometimes we really don't need that. If we was to really look within ourselves, uh, you know, a lot of things, what I'm saying, most everybody knows it already. What I'm saying is not nothing earth shattering. It's not true. The Bible says there is nothing new underneath the sun. It's up to us to acknowledge those things that we know and do them every single day. But it comes down to a person's choice, and that also has an effect in terms of how you process information based on what you're reading or not, what you're looking at, who you're listening to, what you're thinking about, how you want the rest of your life to look, to whatever that is, how you want the rest of your life to look. And one thing I know for sure, that it won't happen by chance. Some of the things that I watch on social media, they really are funny. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I mean, they really are funny. I mean, and one I saw something the other day that really struck me, and it was a picture of some sort. It was a guy, looked like he had a cape or something, and but the caption of it said, "I'm at the point in my life that no matter what anyone says or does, if someone tells me that 1 + 1 is 11, have a great day. Yeah, we're gonna roll with it. And that really resonated with me because when we're dealing with people, sometimes people are gonna be people, man. We can't stop people from doing or saying whatever that they're feeling, because whatever they're saying or feeling in the moment, that's where they are mentally. And it would be to our advantage for us to recognize that, so that way we can have a better response in how to deal with them, because what's at stake is our mental peace. What's at stake is your health. All of those things has an effect on us. There's a lot of people that are having some serious emotional times right now, because they're at home, again, like I said, with the COVID-19 thing, and there's just a level of uncertainty about what may or may not be happening tomorrow, that that is a really big question mark for them, and they don't know. But what I can tell you is that the one thing that we all have in common is our time, and it would be to your advantage to go ahead and focus on something that can give you a, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of that you're doing it regardless of what other people are saying. Because let me tell you something, even to make a video series of this, to make this video series, it takes courage. You have to be to a point where you have to know who you are as a person, what your value is to the marketplace, and what you're willing to do to bring your life to the next level. And this is not about likes, this is not about money, this is about being totally really at peace with who you are. And that is a job. You have to work on it every day. It's not just like motivation. The whole. It may sound like some things that you may have heard before, probably, maybe by Tony Robbins or Les Brown or any one of those motivational speakers. And what I have found, that most people, there is a misconception about motivation. People said, I don't feel motivated to work out. I don't feel motivated to practice an instrument. I don't feel motivated to read or to go to school or whatever. And what they don't realize is that the motivation never comes initially. You have to do the thing first, then the motivation comes. And I think that's part of it, where where a lot of people have that misconception, about getting along further in their lives, because they may be waiting for the perfect situation and they're afraid of failure. In society right now, everything is great. Everything is 100. Everything that you do has to be perfect. I'm telling you, it doesn't. Most of you know that the post that I put on social media, a lot of it relates to uplifting the local musicians here in New Orleans with the organization that we started, called the Musicians Council on Fair Wages. I mean, when we started that last year, that was very it was it's I wouldn't say it has been done, but to be able to address really really touchy issues, particularly money, as it relates to musicians, for example, that was a very huge, huge undertaking. And to be able to talk about that, to openly talk about that in an intelligent fashion and respect, because you're going to have people that are going to disagree with you, and that's just a norm. I think in society, what we have lost is we have lost the ability to disagree respectfully. If you like it, fine. That doesn't mean that we have to be so disagreeable, whereas we want to I just want to totally cut you out of my life, or there's some sort of maybe verbal or physical altercation that may happen. It's totally cool, but that also should hopefully be an insight in terms of where you are, so that you can have the advantage. Because remember, people are going to hate on you regardless as to what you do. If you go to school, somebody's going to say, do you think that you're better than us? Or if you get a new car, or if you get into a relationship or whatever, and depending on who's in your circle, they're going to hate on you. Whether you like it or not, they're going to talk about you, whether you do good or whether you do bad. And human behavior dictates that most people that do that, the haters, so to speak, they have that sense of being left behind. So instead of congratulating you or encouraging you, they revert back to their norm, and sometimes the norm is negative. And so that's where it's easier for them to blame you. It's easier for them to tear you down. And if we are not aware of those kinds of things and tactics that people will use, that will put us at that's going to put us at a greater disadvantage. And we need every advantage that we can in this day and age. Regardless of whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're young, whether you're old. And the principles, what I'm talking about, are principles that I've used in my own personal life, and they work. For example, you may see that my clarinet in the background, sitting on top of my desk. Most of you know me as a saxophone player. I've played saxophone all of my life. I've studied the clarinet somewhat in college. I did the bare minimum, you know what I'm saying? Because I grew up, my older brother Ricky was a clarinetist, so I come from a big family. So I just figured in my mind, I don't want to do the clarinet. I mean, he was playing too much clarinet. I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do. But what I've done in the last year, even though I have played and performed for the past 30 plus years as a professional musician, about the last year and a half, 2 years, I have really, really started developing the idea, or not the idea, of really getting onto the clarinet. And I'm using the clarinet as a metaphor, y'all, to say that when you start something new, or even if you pick something up, if you've put it down for a while, it's going to take a while. I remember back in 1989 when I was a member of the Rebirth Brass Band, the leader, Philip Frazier, told me that the band was going to win a Grammy. We was doing all kinds of engagements and functions. We was on the road, doing a bunch of gigs in New Orleans, on the road all over the world, and and we, y'all know, they was out there. So when we still was doing a lot of work, I would play with them sporadically over time. I was going back to school, yada 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 yada. So, but 22 years later, the Rebirth Brass Band 2012 won a Grammy. How did they do it? They stayed focused, and they just worked. They just did their work. So when I'm talking about works, there's all kinds of examples right in our own lives that are right there that sometimes we ignore because we're looking for this big thing. We're looking for someone famous or whatever, and we want to take pictures, and that's cool. But it's really simple. And being able to get over the fear of what other people think about us, about not being knowledgeable about what we want to do. Take a little bit. Everybody in the world has a cell phone. Everyone. And on the cell phone, most of them have internet access. At least hopefully they do. And you can virtually, literally research anything. No matter what it is, from A to Z. You can get some insight on doing whatever it is that you want to do. Like I said, I'm working on the clarinet. I'm going to be known as a clarinetist. I have to put the work in. Even though I've played, like I said, I'm a professional musician, most of you know, but I need to get my skill level up on the clarinet as I do on the saxophone. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, that takes work. Whether you're going to be an attorney, whether you're going, if you want to go back to school and get your degree, you may have to take one semester at a time. And you have to also realize what your value is. You are, in fact, valuable. You're more valuable to yourself, and to your family than you realize. And many times and you have to look at yourself and look at what you have accomplished in your life. Everybody has accomplished something. I don't care how small it is. And even if you didn't get the accolades or the pat on the back, sometimes even the Bible, it says you have to encourage yourself. When you don't have the support, many times you're going to have to encourage yourself. And is it going to be rough? Absolutely. Just across the board, life is tough. It is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it to you. It is. It's tough and it's complex. Why is it like that? That's just what life is. And I have learned that no matter how old you are, we are always going to be faced some sort of issue or problem. But I've learned now to pick my battles. And I have to learn that, just like learning an instrument. I mean, this is something that you don't learn. That it's not automatic. There's an idea that says that as you get older, you get wiser. That's not true. And you know why it's not true? It depends on, again, what you're reading, what you're thinking, who you're surrounded by, and what belief system that you have. If you have a belief system that is negative from your childhood and you carry that all the way up to adulthood, trust me, it's not going to serve you well. You could be 60, 70 years old. There are a lot of older people that are not as far along as they could be. And again, I make no judgment, about that, because no one is in any position to judge or to lay claim to, or you're not doing this, or you could be doing that. Some people will also take that stance with you as well. People will always have an opinion about what you think that you should be doing. You need to ignore that. You have to. Take it with a grain of salt. Respect where they are too, even though you may not like it. Because respect goes two ways. If someone comes to you and tells you some certain things about yourself personally or professionally, take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, process it, let them say what they have to, and you say, thank you, I appreciate that. And mentally you could be saying, okay, I know not to talk to you anymore, or to avoid you like the plague. Now that's to you personally, and that's cool, that's a choice. But again, that's a level of respect. Now, of course, sometimes we're human. Sometimes everybody has a button and it's going to be pushed. Everybody has a breaking point. And you have to realize what that is. And that goes into the next thing about procrastination. Fear and procrastination are cousins. The two go together. On one side, fear is saying, don't do it, you're gonna fail. You may not have the support, but I want to tell you this, that failure is an event, not a person. I'll say it again. Failure is an event, not a person. You're not a failure. You're not out here by yourself. You are not the first one to try something to better yourself. It has happened since the beginning of time. Those accounts are in books. That's why I say reading. You got to read. You got to study and see who has been successful in the thing that you want to do. Procrastination will say, I want to go ahead. I'm going to wait until the perfect situation. I'm going to wait until I get out of school. I'm going to let the kids get older. And I'm going to wait until next week. They could be very valid reasons. Very well could be. But what's the real reason why you're not doing whatever it is that you want to do? What it is. I mean, you can tell people one thing, but you can't lie to yourself, and And then if you do that, the procrastination feeds more fear. It then turns into doubt, which turns into depression. And once a person is depressed, that's why they have these programs with counseling and these psychologists. People go to see a psychiatrist, and particularly in the Black community. That's not talked about enough in our community. There's a lot of sick, mentally sick people out here, and they're going around like it's okay. I'm okay. Well, how do you know that you're okay? Nothing is wrong with that. The money that we spend a lot on different things, it will be to your advantage to at least consider. And if you don't want to go see a psychologist or whatever, there are all kinds of self-help books out here that you can read. You can read online, and most of it is free. So, being able to get yourself to the point where you want to be able to go to the next level, it takes work, and most of the time it's going to be a long, lonely road. You're not going to have a lot of people giving you support, but you have to understand how important is it for you. And you just have to put the work in. And that's why when you hear the phrase about you got to love what you do, and it's true, you have to love what you do, because if you don't love it, that love is going to be the thing that's going to get you through the tough times. That's the only way that I know in order to make it. and it goes against all demographics, ages, vocations, whatever your job is or whatever. You have to be able to do that. And if you have an interest in something else, do a little bit of it at a time. So as we get through this pandemic with COVID-19, I want everybody to be safe. Y'all be cool. Next week we're going to be talking about anger. Next Sunday, I'll be coming to y'all on a weekly basis. So next Sunday around this time, or maybe later on during the day, and please post your opinions on some of the things that I've said, even if you don't agree. I mean, it's totally cool because, like I said, what I'm doing right now is to further what I'm doing, not only as a musician but also to uplift our community, and really for musicians, because a lot of musicians are going through, they're really having a rough time. They're doing the whole social distancing things. Events and clubs are not open. The city is in flux in terms of what's going to be happening and all of that. And some musicians are going to be faced, not going to be faced, are faced with a harsh reality that some may have to go get an actual regular, and I say regular job, maybe you know, maybe going to school or something like that, or maybe some other kind of job. So my advice also to musicians is to learn some other skills besides music, and even if it's still in music, learn other skills within music. And again, that's the same thing. It's not going to be easy at first, but if you put the time in and you dedicate yourself to it, it will in fact yield you many fruitful things in your life for years to come. So look, dog, this is Rev Speaks. I'm glad that y'all check me out today. So like I said, this is my first one, so I know it's kind of maybe a little bit raw, but I wanted to come to y'all this way because, again, somebody needs to hear something encouraging. I don't know where you are or in the world. You could be in New Orleans or wherever you're located. Just know that you got to keep it moving. Don't stop. Ignore your critics. And most importantly, the hustle don't stop, because trust me, no one is waking up thinking about what in terms of how they can go ahead and help you. Nobody is waking up with that thought. So you got to do it for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. So look, peace. I'm out.